So let me give you an example of Boyd talked a little bit about you'll have the highest highs and the lowest lows, and sometimes within a couple minutes. One of them actually happened here. You know, they have the app developer contests here. I don't know, you know, they have them about once a year where they get a bunch of people together and they build apps, and there's a contest to see who did the best. Well, we came to one of those because one of our employees was entering it, and because he was a student here, and we had this product that you're seeing right here is called Corculus that we're doing this presentation in. But originally, the name that we were going to use was Paddleum. And we had this name, and we actually liked Corculus better, but we were going to use the name Paddleum. And while we were at that contest, we got a text from Apple that said, your app's been rejected because you used the name Pad in it, because they didn't want anyone to use Pad because of the iPad. So it got rejected, and we're sitting there in this contest thinking, now what are we going to do? Because the app was all ready to go, we're ready to launch it, and we actually met a guy. It was a friend of the guy that was in the contest, and he said, well, why don't you call it Corculus? And we're like, what? Are you kidding me? And so, like, within a second of being rejected, or it was a couple minutes, we had the new name, which was actually a better name and turned out to work really well, and everybody liked it better. So that's just an example. We had another one here at WWDC. WWDC, sorry, is the Worldwide Developer Conference for Apple. And this was 2008, and just to get into the conference, it's about $1,500 a ticket. That's just for the ticket to get in. You still got to pay for the flights down there and your hotels and your meals and all that kind of stuff. So we're sitting there thinking, man, do we really want to blow, $4,000 to go down to this conference when we don't even know if this thing's going to pan out? This was before the App Store opened and all that. And I remember Boyd asked me, well, is it better to, should we just go ahead and buy the tickets, or should we think about it, figure out what we're going to do? And I said, oh, it's always better, let's just buy them and then we'll figure it out, because we got to go. So we went ahead and bought them, and I think it was within a day after that, couple days, the tickets sold out, so you couldn't get in. And all of a sudden, these things that we were all kind of wishy-washy on, we realized, man, everybody wants to get into this thing. And so it was well worth the money because, we met a lot of people. We met Apple employees that we're still in contact with. We got to introduce ourselves to a bunch of people. They have labs there where we could actually take our product and say, look, this doesn't work. Because in the early days of developing on the iPhone, it was incredible how much it changed. I mean, now it's really stable, and they've got these nice APIs. But at the time, we'd get SDKs, we'd get the developer kits from Apple, and they'd change everything, and suddenly nothing would build, and we'd have to rewrite the whole app to change to fit everything. So it was a constant thing. But one thing that was interesting is we'd go into these iPhone sessions at the conference, and they have these huge rooms, and they allow 5,000 people at the conference, and you'd walk in, and here's this room full of, several thousand people, and we walk in and just think, are you kidding me? This is our competition.
Another low.
Yeah. Every time we'd walk into one of those rooms, we'd just think, oh, this is unbelievable. And we actually saw some competition while we were there. One of the other developers won an award, and they got up on stage and they were showing their product. And when they announced who had won the award, we thought, at least it was fun to try. And we were ready to almost just give up and say, and they hadn't even started. So they got up and they presented their product, and we saw their product, and we realized, man, that thing is incredibly hard to use. Maybe we still do have a chance. And so right after that, we were all fired up again because ours was easier to use. So, we felt it was easier and better designed and everything. So just an example of highs and lows and how, sometimes you have to make quick decisions on what you're going to do. And in this case, for us, it really worked out.